All right, ready to unlock some seriously impressive vocab? We're diving into 15 words that can really level up your English fluency. According to our source, these are the words that separate casual speakers from the truly fluent.
It's amazing how certain words just have that extra oomph, like they carry this aura of sophistication.
Exactly. So we're not just defining them, we're going deep, exploring their history, cultural impact, even their psychological power.
It's about more than just sounding smart, right?
Yeah.
It's about unlocking a whole new level of expression.
Okay, first up is ubiquitous. It means being or seeming to be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
The example they give is smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern society. Pretty accurate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
But it's interesting, right? Ubiquitous isn't just about physical presence. It's about ideas or phenomena that permeate everything. Like, think about the concept of data these days.
Oh, well, that's a good one.
It's not just on our phones anymore. It's in the cloud, driving algorithms, shaping how we experience the world. Data's become truly ubiquitous.
Right. It's like you can't escape it. It's not just about seeing it everywhere. It's about feeling its influence constantly.
Exactly. Like, it's almost like the air we breathe. We don't really notice it until it's gone or polluted.
All right. Next word is ephemeral. This one means lasting for a very short time, fleeting.
Got it.
The source gives the example, fashion trends are often ephemeral, changing every season.
Oh, that's so true.
Right. Makes you think about how we perceive beauty and value. Do we appreciate things more because they're fleeting?
Oh, that is a good question. And it's not just objects, right? It's experiences too.
Yeah.
Like a sunset, a conversation, a moment of pure joy. These are all ephemeral, but they can have a lasting impact, don't you think?
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to altruistic. It means showing a disinterested and selfless concern for the well-being of others. Unselfish.
Okay.
So the example is, her altruistic nature led her to volunteer at the shelter every weekend.
Makes you think, huh?
Yeah. Like, is altruism something we're born with? Or is it learned?
That's the age-old question, right?
Yeah.
Nature versus nurture.
Right. Maybe it's a bit of both. Like, we may have a predisposition towards empathy, but our experiences shape how we act.
That makes sense. Okay, getting a bit darker now. Pernicious. It means having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way.
Okay.
The source says misinformation can have a pernicious impact on society.
Oh, especially these days.
Definitely. It's not always a blatant lie, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a twist of the truth that slowly erodes trust.
It's like a slow-acting poison almost. It weakens its victim gradually. Think about historical propaganda.
Yeah.
It wasn't always straight-up lies. It was carefully crafted narratives playing on fears and prejudices. It's scary how effective it can be.
Absolutely. All right, time for a slightly more positive one.
Yeah.
Prolific, meaning producing something abundantly. Fertile.
Okay.
They highlight Shakespeare, saying Shakespeare was a prolific writer, producing dozens of plays and sonnets.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Right. But it's not just quantity, it's the quality and impact of the work. Absolutely. Think of someone like Leonardo da Vinci, painter, sculptor, inventor, scientist. His mind was overflowing with ideas.
It really makes you wonder, what are the conditions that foster that kind of prolific creativity?
Right. Is it personality, environment, a bit of divine inspiration? Who knows? Maybe a unique mix of everything.
Fascinating. Okay, this next one might raise a few eyebrows. Sycophant. A person who tries to win favor from wealthy or influential people by flattering them.
Oh, the classic sycophant.
Right. They give the example, he's such a sycophant, always agreeing with the boss just to get a promotion.
It's not always about career advancement, though, is it? Sometimes it's social status, wanting to be part of the in crowd.
True. But you're right. True power and influence rarely come from just being a sycophant.
Nope. People can usually see right through it.
Okay, get ready to feel brainy. Esoteric, meaning intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest.
Interesting one.
So the example here is, quantum physics is an esoteric subject that few people truly understand.
Very true.
Right. It's something complex, but also incredibly fascinating.
It's like finding a hidden door in a familiar house,
Yeah.
You know there's something cool behind it, but you need the right key to unlock it.
Oh, I love that analogy. Okay, this one might be a mouthful. Obfuscate, meaning to make something obscure, unclear, or unintelligible.
Okay.
They say, The politician obfuscated his response to avoid answering directly.
Classic.
Right, it's like a magician using misdirection.
Exactly. It's a smokescreen of words leaving you confused. And it's not just politicians. We see it in marketing, legal documents, even everyday conversations when people are avoiding confrontation.
Totally. This next word has a sense of simplicity. Austere, meaning severe or strict in manner, attitude, or appearance.
Got it.
They give the example, monks often live in austere conditions with few possessions. But it's interesting, austerity can be both appealing and repelling.
Right. Like for some, it represents discipline, self-control, a rejection of excess. But for others, it can feel cold, harsh, even punishing.
It's all about perspective, right? What's liberating for one person might feel constricting for another.
Exactly. That's what's so great about language. Let's just explore these nuances.
Absolutely. Speaking of different perceptions, next up is fastidious, meaning very attentive to and concerned about accuracy and detail.
Okay.
The example is, she is a fastidious editor spotting even the tiniest mistakes.
I can relate to that.
Right. It's a blessing and a curse.
Imagine having a really fastidious roommate, always tidying up, double-checking everything. Could be a bit much, right?
I can imagine. Okay, I think we can all relate to this one. Lethargic, meaning affected by lethargy, sluggish and apathetic.
We've all been there.
The source says, after staying up all night, I felt lethargic all day.
Yep.
Super relatable, but important to note that persistent lethargy can be a sign of something more serious.
Absolutely. Don't just ignore it if it's going on for a long time.
This next word is all about generosity. Magnanimous, meaning very generous or forgiving, especially toward a rival or someone less powerful than oneself.
Okay.
The example they give is, despite losing, Hughes was magnanimous in congratulating the winner.
Shows real character.
It does, right. It makes you think about humility and sportsmanship.
It's about recognizing that there's more to life than winning or losing. It's about acknowledging others even when you're disappointed. It's a quality we could use more of these days.
Absolutely. Okay, getting a bit mysterious now. Clandestine, meaning kept secret or done secretively, especially because illicit.
Ooh, intrigue.
Right. The example is, they held a clandestine meeting late at night.
Love it.
So clandestine activities aren't always spy stuff, right? They can happen in everyday life when there's a need for secrecy.
Definitely. Like, imagine activists organizing a protest in a place where it's dangerous. They might have to meet in secret, communicate in code. Their actions might be clandestine, but their motives could be noble.
That's a good point. Okay, last word for this part. Mitigate, meaning to make something less severe, serious, or painful.
Okay.
The example is pretty straightforward. Wearing a seatbelt mitigates the risk of injury in an accident.
Practical, but important.
Right. And think about its applications in other areas, like climate change. We can mitigate its effects through reducing emissions and investing in renewable energy. Or in economics with social safety nets and job training programs.
It's about being proactive, recognizing risks, and taking action.
Exactly. We can't always prevent bad things from happening, but we can try to lessen their impact. It's a valuable mindset.
For sure. Welcome back to our vocab exploration. Ready for more word power?
Absolutely. It's amazing how much depth these seemingly simple words have.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. More to discover with each layer.
Love that. Okay, so up next we have austere, meaning severe or strict in manner, attitude, or appearance.
You know what comes to mind? Ancient Sparta. Their whole society, famous for warriors. They value discipline, self-denial, rejecting luxury.
Oh, interesting.
And their architecture, their way of life, it all reflected that. Fascinating how a culture's values can show up in their language and surroundings, right?
Totally. The source gives the example, monks often live in austere conditions with few possessions. But it's funny, austerity can be seen as both positive and negative, right?
Oh, for sure. For some people, austerity means freedom, freedom from material things, from the pressures of always wanting more. It lets you focus on what really matters. But for others, it can feel like you're being deprived, like you're missing out on the comforts that make life enjoyable.
It's like, imagine a room that's completely bare, just white walls and a single chair. Some people would find that peaceful. Others would find it cold and empty.
Exactly. It really comes down to each person's values, right? What one person finds liberating might feel oppressive to someone else.
Next up is fastidious, meaning very attentive to and concerned about accuracy and detail. I think our detail-oriented listeners will appreciate this one.
Well, yeah. I think of architects or engineers. They have to be so precise in their calculations and designs, making sure everything is perfect so the structures they build are safe.
The source uses the example, she is a fastidious editor, spotting even the tiniest mistakes. And it makes me think fastidiousness is often linked to professions where accuracy is crucial.
It's not just about being organized, though. It's deeper than that. It's like a need for things to be just right, a drive for excellence, which can be great, but also a bit challenging sometimes.
Imagine working on a project with someone who's super fastidious. They might drive everyone crazy with their attention to detail, but ultimately their input could make the whole project better.
True. It's about finding that balance, striving for excellence without getting stuck in perfectionism.
Speaking of getting stuck, our next word is lethargic, meaning affected by lethargy, sluggish, and apathetic.
We all know that feeling, don't we?
The source says, after staying up all night, I felt lethargic all day. Pretty relatable, I think.
Oh, yeah. But sometimes, lethargy can be a sign of something deeper, like burnout, depression, maybe even a medical condition.
It's like, imagine feeling lethargic for weeks on end, no matter how much sleep you get. That's when you need to pay attention and maybe talk to a doctor.
Exactly. Don't just brush it off as being tired. Sometimes your body's trying to tell you something's up.
Now, for a word that's all about generosity and forgiveness, magnanimous, meaning very generous or forgiving, especially toward a rival or someone less powerful than yourself.
I think magnanimity is a quality we often see in people who have overcome big challenges in life. They faced hardship, experienced loss, and they've come out of it with a deeper understanding of people. They're more empathetic and compassionate.
The example the source gives is, despite losing, he was magnanimous in congratulating the winner. That's real sportsmanship.
Imagine a leader, after a really tough election, reaching out to their opponent to work together. That's magnanimity, right?
Right.
Rising above the political battles and remembering we're all human.
It's a good reminder that true strength isn't about dominance. It's about forgiveness, empathy, building bridges instead of walls.
Okay, ready for a bit of mystery? Our next word is clandestine, meaning kept secret or done secretively, especially because illicit.
Oh yeah, this one always makes me think of spy novels. Secret agents meeting in dark cafes, secret codes, missions under the cover of darkness.
The source uses the example, they held a clandestine meeting late at night. Gets your imagination going, doesn't it?
But clandestine stuff doesn't always have to be about spies. It happens in everyday life too, right? Anytime there's a need for secrecy.
Think about activists organizing against a dangerous regime. They might have to meet in secret, be careful about how they communicate. Their actions might be clandestine, but their reasons could be really important.
Good point. So it's not always about doing something bad. It's about keeping it hidden for whatever reason.
Now let's talk about mitigate, meaning to make something less severe, serious, or painful.
This one's pretty practical. The source says, wearing a seatbelt mitigates the risk of injury in an accident. Simple action, big impact.
Exactly. And think about mitigating things like climate change. We can do that by reducing emissions, using renewable energy, or in economics, mitigating the effects of hardship with things like safety nets and job training.
It's about being proactive. We can't always stop bad things from happening, but we can try to lessen the damage.
Absolutely. It's a powerful way to approach problems.
Okay, last word for this part, and it's a doozy. Nefarious, meaning wicked or criminal.
This one sends shivers down my spine. It's like pure evil lurking in the shadows.
The source gives the example. The villain's nefarious plan was finally revealed. Classic villain moment.
But nefarious things happen in real life too, right? And often it's people in positions of power who abuse that power for their own gain.
Like corrupt politicians who only care about enriching themselves, or CEOs who prioritize profits over people and the environment.
Those aren't just greedy actions, they're morally wrong. They completely disregard the well-being of others.
It's a reminder that we have to be careful, hold people accountable, and never ignore injustice. Back for more amazing vocabulary. We're unlocking the final 5 words in our vault. These are the words that can truly elevate your communication, make you sound like a language pro.
I'm excited to dig into these last few words. They're really interesting.
All right, let's jump right in. Our next word is prolific, which signifies producing something in large quantities. Art, ideas, inventions, anything that comes from that creative spark.
I got it.
The source uses the example, Shakespeare was a prolific writer, producing dozens of plays and sonnets. What do you think? What drives that level of creative output?
It's a great question. Like, is it pure talent
Mm-hmm.
or maybe discipline, that constant search for inspiration?
Right. Is it something you're born with, or is it something you can develop?
Maybe it's a bit of both. Some people seem to be naturally more in tune with the world,
Mm.
you know? They absorb experiences and turn them into art.
That's interesting.
But then you also have those who make it a habit, a daily practice. They show up and create, even when they don't feel inspired.
Oh, it's almost like a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah, I like that analogy. The more you create, the easier it becomes.
Okay, get ready for this one. It's about flattery and manipulation. It's sycophant, a person who tries to win favor from wealthy or influential people by flattering them.
Ah, the sycophant, a timeless character, right? Always trying to climb that social ladder.
The example they give is he's such a sycophant, always agreeing with the boss just to get a promotion.
It's not always about career advancement, though, is it?
You're right, you're right.
Sometimes it's that desire to be seen as part of the in crowd, to feel important by association.
True, true. But I think most people can see through it, you know? Real power doesn't come from just being a sycophant.
No, it doesn't. Authenticity and integrity are way more valuable in the long run.
Okay, get ready to feel your brain expand. Esoteric, meaning intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest.
Okay.
The example is, quantum physics is an esoteric subject that few people truly understand.
Makes sense.
It's this idea that even within fields that we think we understand, there are levels that are just beyond most of us.
It's like there's this whole world of knowledge out there, but only certain people have the keys to unlock it.
Exactly. It's humbling, but also kind of exciting, right? There's always more to learn.
That's what makes it an adventure.
Okay, time for a word that's all about confusion.
Obfuscate, meaning to make something obscure, unclear, or unintelligible.
Okay.
The example they give is the politician obfuscated his response to avoid answering directly.
Oh, classic politician move.
Right. It's all about creating confusion, diverting attention, and it's not just politicians who do it. Think about complicated legal contracts or marketing campaigns that make big promises but are actually quite vague. It's like they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes.
Exactly. It's a reminder to be critical of the information we're given, you know? Question things, seek clarity, especially when things seem deliberately confusing.
Developing those critical thinking skills is more important than ever these days.
And finally, we come to our last word, one that embodies pure wickedness. Nefarious, meaning wicked or criminal.
Oh yeah, that's a heavy one.
The source gives the example. The villain's nefarious plan was finally revealed.
Right out of a movie, huh?
But nefarious acts don't just happen in fiction. They happen in real life, too.
And sadly, it's often people in positions of power who commit them, abusing that power for their own gain.
Think about dictators throughout history who caused so much suffering and death.
Their regimes were based on lies, manipulation, a complete lack of respect for human life.
It's a sobering thought, but it's a reminder to stay informed, to hold those in power accountable, and to never be silent in the face of injustice.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And there you have it. We've reached the end of our vocabulary deep dive.
What a journey. We've gone from everyday words to words that are rarely used, from the positive to the, well, downright nefarious.
We've explored the history, the psychology, the impact these words have. But more importantly, we've seen how language can be a powerful tool. It helps us understand each other, connect with each other, and make the world a better place.
I think that's a great takeaway.
So to our listeners, go out there and use these words. Explore them, play with them, let them enrich your conversations. And remember, the journey of learning never really ends. There are always new words to discover and new ways to express ourselves. Until next time, happy exploring.